there is plenty of gamers in my comment section that have particular opinions. And since I always like to kind of simply talk with the community of mine, exchange the opinions, I feel like that would be a good idea to just take these comments and talk a little bit about them. So I guess we could start. Would you mind to read the first comment?
It's really just the winged crystal tier that's the issue. Letting people run around with max poise builds and fingerprint shield with no investment in endurance. Letting a well-armored CS users fast roll and poke. It's a mess.
All right, so this is one of these comments that just like they are good background for the nice discussion, because I guess like Wind Crystal tier is definitely strong. It's like it's probably supposed to be nerfed. Yeah. It lasts like for like 3 minutes and so on. But still, the thing is, are the light rolls on its own not really strong? Because we have the example here. Let me actually bring. That's pretty much a difference between light roll and the medium roll on the patch 1.06. The difference is really noticeable. And why the difference is noticeable? Because some people might say, oh, dude, this is like a 1.5 step more, something like that. In the current way how the things working like in these games, like you cannot just spam roll and escape the running attacks. Because essentially at the end of the roll, you kind of getting slowed down. But with the new roll, it's far enough that you can actually just spam the roll and escape things that normally you're supposed to outspace. You're supposed to time your roll and so on and so forth. So the light rolls in its current form kind of hurt the competitive integrity of the game, as the spacing essentially is not that important. The timing of the rolls is not that important. The roll catching is just straight up harder, but not in the way that like it is harder because they changed the mechanic of the roll catches for the sake of to be harder. It's simply the length of the roll is so absurd now on the light rolls that you just can't get away with most of the things. So
yeah, I think the poster here is kind of onto something to a certain degree. Like light roll on its own is going to be very strong, like add any little bit of latency onto this and it's going to be very messy because they're going to have less opportunities for you to hit them. More has to be done on prediction. But like the light roll on its own mightn't be an issue so long as it's a trade-off. The difference between being 2-shot and 3-shot mightn't seem like much, but it's a huge difference when you're playing like at a high level. If you don't have the high enough absorption or you're forced to have very low absorption armor for that, I think that's a question, but
that's the question.
Problem. Yeah, that's
the question. And so far the test shows that you can still stack a lot of poise, use powerful weapons, and essentially have a light roll. I disagree. Windcrack tier needs a nerf. You can still roll catch with longer weapons like the lance and halberds. The only problem I can see is with the shorter weapons. I see this as being far better for casters with low HP and faith builds with little endurance. The problem with this comment is that like the gamer kind of misunderstands how this game plays. There is no such a thing in this game that, oh, someone is running caster, then they are going to have low HP.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen as much.
Yeah, it's like you have like 80 intelligence full caster builds with 60 vigor. Yeah, this is not like D&D. This is not MMORPG. You don't have like some sort of the classes in this game. A lot of people have that misunderstanding that, oh, like for an example, like with the hard swaps that like people hate. Okay, like this is another video about discussing anything, and we are always looping to the hard swaps. But the another like people have that misunderstanding, for example, that, oh, hard swaps don't supposed to be in the game because it's just fucking stupid. You can have everything on the build and use everything and so on. And I have feeling like these opinions coming from the belief that you're supposed to have some sort of the classes. Elden Ring has no classes. You have attribute points. You add these attributes to craft the build up to like certain like a level that is like some sort of the level cap that you choose yourself, because you can even go like 99 stats on everything and you still can contribute to the PvP. Yeah, you do not have classes. It's not working that way. People simply with this change, they're gonna have like more powerful caster builds. End of story. It's really no fucking like, no some sort of the trade-off here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think this comes from people, and it through no fault of their own, I think to a certain degree. If you're invading at low level, you do have to make huge sacrifices for the sake of the integrity of your build. If you want to use a weapon, you have to like it's a very big investment in order to use that weapon if you're like at 20, 30, 40. And as a result, you don't have as full kind of like a rounded out a build. So for that, those kinds of brackets, it makes sense. But when we're talking about comp players, it's a very different story, and the rules change considerably. It's not so much going towards certain weapons. It's about inventories. You have an entire inventory that you're using, and you're going from, and you're decked out and ready to go with that.
Exactly.
It comes from people who invade heavily at those brackets and don't understand how the game is at much higher
Mm-hmm.
is at a much higher level. I think that's where it comes from. And again, if that's your only experience with the game, I can completely understand it. But there's more out there. There's way more out there.
There is way more out there. I am not sure how to feel about this yet. Light loads finally have a viable reason to be used, and they are balanced due to the lighter armor and or lighter weapons needed to be light load. But as shown in this video, that can be bypassed with the winged crystal spear tier. But the tier lasts 3 minutes, so I am not sure how to feel.
Well, it lasts 3 minutes, not under 2. So for PC, it's
it's perfectly balanced.
But this is just an example of, I think, people missing the, again, I said it earlier, I'm missing the forest for the trees. The issue isn't light roll per se. It's how easily achievable high poise numbers are across the board. Like, I've had this discussion with a few people. If poise was something you had to hardcore go for, like hardcore, like work your build around, I don't think we'd be having this kind of conversation, even with the tier.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the fact that minimal amounts of endurance can give you, like, in some cases, 100 poise if you use talismans and stuff and build around it. That's the real problem.
Yeah.
And the fact now that you have a tier that can give you to fast roll really quickly just makes it infinitely worse.
Mm-hmm.
I think that these comments are all of a similar vein, and I more or less agree with them, especially after witnessing the horror today in the Fight Club.
So yeah, like when it comes to another thing, when it comes to this comment, so the trade-off with the lighter armor or the lighter weapons, I have that invader build that I was invading on today.
Mm-hmm.
It is essentially 75 poise, light armor, the great EP monster that can just aggress and roll out without much of an effort out of any situation without the winged crystal tier. You can make high poise, high absorption, powerful setups with the light roll. It's really fucking like, it's like my opinion, I think the way that they went with is not good. My hot take on that one is bring back the old light rolls, but decrease the requirement for the light rolls. So for example, instead of 25%, it would be like 35 or 40%. Because of that, you would have just minimally better rolls. You could still use like better like setups and heavier setups. You could have more poise. The previous light rolls were not bad by any means. For an example, talking from the PvE perspective, in the Malenia fight, without the light roll, it is really hard to get through the whirl thingy, that the water flow, the fall, I think it is called. So like that thingy, it was so hard. Unless you was BHSing around or something like that, it was really hard to get through. I think like the changes that, like for example, the BHS like goes further and quick steps goes further on the light rolls. It might stay, it is fine, but I think the roll is just too far. It's bringing some numbers. Mid roll or light roll was longer by 8% to the mid roll in the previous patch, and right now the light roll is longer than the previous light roll by 20%.
Interesting.
So it's essentially like it's not really needed. I think it's really not needed.
The only other way I could think you could balance it perhaps is you could go the same amount of distance but have the same amount of iframe, have like shorter iframes or something like that. So it is a trade-off. You're sacrificing how likely you are to be hit. You have to do more on prediction. That might be an interesting way of doing it, but I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I'm not sure what else that would mess up in terms of balancing. Like again, saying we should fix one thing and like not fix another or not change anything else, it's not a vacuum. It changes everything.
Mhm.
Like I expect in the next tournament we'll be seeing light rolls if there's not another patch between now and then. That I
Yeah.
expect to see it, and I expect it
I
to be very, very
Yeah, I
oppressive.
definitely run. I'm definitely going to run the light rolls on the oncoming tournament. That's for sure. In my opinion, like light rolls just give you so much of uh things out of your head when it comes to the spacing, because you just do
Mm,
not really have to space that much. You just click one roll, and if someone is gonna corner you with the freaking flaming strike, you just roll through him,
you just roll out, yeah.
and you are out. It's just as simple. If you are actually, if you got caught in the middle of the storm stomp, for example, but you rolled out, in the previous cases you was like rolling a little bit and you was getting stopped and you usually was getting hit. Right now, from my personal experience, from that what I see, you're just rolling away so far. Even if you're gonna get staggered by storm stomp, you are usually getting staggered outside of the range of the weapons.
Yeah. The only other
So
thing I can think of, sorry, I
yes,
interrupted
go
you.
go
Do you want
go
to
on,
carry on?
go on,
The
go on.
only thing I'd say on that is obviously your rolling is always the least optimal way of doing it unless you're going to take guaranteed damage. Your spacing is still important, but once you've rolled, the distance is it's a lot. That's a lot of distance that you're covering there with that. It mightn't seem like much, but we've seen it with Flame Strike earlier on, as you were saying. And corner pressure in this game is bad enough as it is that I don't know. This is a really tough position. I'm not sure as well as that if like
Mhm.
being really generous with people's positioning, because
Yeah,
being in a corner there should be consequence to that. You should have messed up in some way, and I feel that if less of that consequence is there because you're light rolling, then that's not a good step in the right direction, I think. Back into light loads.
again, like complain about tier. Tier, no way light roll needs nerf.
Yeah,
To spec into light load was insane. I need 100 equip load to have a good light load. Armor is the tier you needed. Yeah, it's people just don't know how to optimize the build, essentially, and this is where that opinion coming from. Uh,
it's
hmm?
it's interesting that so many people are kind of getting caught up on the tier rather than without the tier. I mean, again, it's so easy to achieve these higher poise numbers. I mean, you're not using the tier at all in your 70 poise build, right? Or are you using the tier for that?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah,
No. That's
exactly.
the whole point. This build is optimized
Yeah.
for to not use the tier. With the tier, I could use light roll with 133 poise.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's people are getting lost in the weeds about what is and isn't optimal, and give them time. I'd say they might catch up, but what was that one about BHS? Oh God.
This is this. I guess this is some sort of the joke. Community complains about BHS spam. Big brain at FromSoft comes up with the convoluted algorithm of diminishing returns, weight load dependent range instead of just adding a cooldown or higher floor cost. Same brain
Amazing.
adds unlimited BHS equivalent roll costing only stamina. It's not exactly true. It's not as bad, but yeah, that's funny. We're
The
gonna give
tryhard's
the
gonna
like to the gamer. You are using crouch poke. That's what needs a nerf.
Yeah, again.
Like it's I was using the crouch poke here because even in the video I'm saying that those things are just have synergy. But I right now, like after further testing, I think like there are better synergies with the light rolls than crouch poke. And what is happening here is just like a the bandwagon hive mind gamer just telling you that, oh, you are using this, that's why your opinion is not important.
Is invalid. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's again missing the forest for the trees. I mean, you can have things that are potentially a problem in the game, and then you can have other things. It's stackable, right? It stacks multiplicity that are even worse that can be added onto it, and it can make things even worse or a more stale or stagnant meta. Like that's the that goes without saying. I don't understand why these two things could be mutually exclusive to begin with. It's brainworms if I've ever heard it, but whatever.
Oh man.
Incredible. I'm regretting not being inebriated for this steal. I'm sorry.
We did it, lads. We have come full circle from ninja flipping camels to light roll bull goats. This scoring poise monster returns LMAO. This is actually hella true. Like you guys might not remember because you didn't play or something, but back in the days of Dark Souls 1, you could basically fast roll with 50% of the equip load, and there was a ninja ring that was increasing your overall amount of the iframes, so you could run essentially the highest poise value in the game, and or almost highest poise values in the game, and just ninja flip around. It was insane.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and
Before my time, but goddamn.
it is insane. There is a gamer that is without a doubt like have a nice take. I think like smart gamer over here that wanted to contribute to the discussion. So he says that you have been watching for a while, and the clips that basically accept the Mog spear. And let me actually show you the light roll moment in this clip against Mog spear, because that one is really truly insane.
Yo.
Yeah, and this is low latency. That's just as the as the example, the lower latency, the easier it is to roll catch, as well with the AoE attacks. So I am fighting against the guy that has low latency to me, and I just double rolled away from my problems.
That's insane.
It is.
All right.
It is. Look at this latency.
Oh god, that's so pretty.
It's such a pretty latency. Like, and I just doubled rolled away from my problems, man. That never would happen on the medium roll. I would get so fucking fricked here.
You literally don't have to worry at all. You can just spam and away. Oh no.
Yeah, that's like light rolls are problematic. They really are. Like the length of these rolls is just too much. It really is. And the gamer over here like says that, that's besides that clip, he do not see much of the issues. But to be honest, in this, I'm not gonna go throughout the whole video. Maybe in the post-production I'm gonna add like the clips here and there. But I am like rolling away with one roll out of the bad position against the flaming strikes, I like out of the crouch box and so on. It's really strong.
And the only interesting thing I think that might be worth noting is it seems as though it's a good way of getting out of the vortex. Now, I'm sure people have done much more testing. That was the day after, a couple of days afterwards. I was chatting with some of the ER PvP people, and they were saying, yeah, it's a good way to get out of the Colossal Sword vortex. So that might be interesting as like an actual useful way that doesn't completely damage the meta per se. That might be an interesting use of it. It might make Uggs slightly less powerful. And I say slightly because even if you can roll out of the vortex, it doesn't really matter. They can still, it's still scary good. So I'd be curious as to what testing has been done with that. Even then, it's like that still just makes even Uggs more powerful. Again, Uggs will still benefit more ultimately from it because you might not be able to hit them.
I don't quite see how killing a low skill players in invasions is supposed to prove that light roll is overpowered.
Okay.
My god, like this is where I supposed to test it. Like it's of course I'm gonna keep on testing, like, but what I suppose to I have no idea where, like, to be honest. Of course I'm gonna bring it to probably tomorrow I'm gonna bring it to the ladder, and I'm gonna do the light rolls gaming on the ladder, but
yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on that. That should be pretty interesting.
I don't know how, like, running away from essentially the same threats, especially like literally the Mog clip, like, do not prove that something is not okay here. I have no idea. It's like you see that Mog AoE clip and you're supposed to already be like, yeah, okay, that might be a little bit overtuned. I'm probably gonna end the video with this comment. Doesn't the new light roll give incentive to not always wear a million poise armor? I thought that was a good thing. Now, it gives you incentive to optimize your builds so you have millions of poise and still light roll.
Yep.
That's
the problem.
That's how it actually works.
Yeah.